Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Run It Up. Run It Up number 48. We are here today playing some $1, $2, no limit Texas Hold'em on UltimatePoker.com. This is the first time we've actually ever played 1-2 for Run It Up, at least. So, yeah, here we are. I bought in for 50 big blinds, which I haven't been doing, but I thought it would be kind of a cool idea to do. Like, obviously, 1-2 is a pretty big percentage of our bankroll. But I felt like we could take a 50 big blind kind of a stab, see what happened, and we'll try to run it up. So, gonna start out here with a bet after the flop check through. Often enough, this guy just has like ace-4 or something like that and just folds. And worst case scenario, worst case scenario, he raises and we fold, I guess. But sometimes he will end up calling and we can bluff a lot of rivers, stuff like that. So I think I just fold here. I think we just tried the bluff, didn't work out. We could arguably call and then do something on the river, but given that we're going to play a little bit tighter at this level, I think we'll start off by not trying to float out of position and make something weird happen. Going to be defending here with our pocket fives in the small blind. Don't see what else we should be doing. Not the best of flops, but I suppose it could be worse. I think actually we just end up check folding here, and against a guy that I think is a pretty big regular. If our fives are the best hand, it's not really likely we're going to get to showdown if they are. Let's say he has a hand like Jack 9 and we just check call and the turn card is like a 7. Is he really going to check back a lot? I mean, I don't think so. So I think we just fold there. I think that seems fine. So if you haven't checked it out yet, don't miss yesterday's video. We did, I went to, as you guys might remember, I went off to LA to do a charity event a few weeks ago and brought along my film crew because, I just can't help myself. So yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool video. So go check that out. The Lupus LA video from yesterday. Tito Ortiz retweeted it. He appears. So you should go check it out. It's pretty sweet. And I guess, the most exciting thing of all, perhaps one of the coolest things that I have seen since starting Run It Up, I'm very excited to share with you. I had been doing this Dear J. Carver segment thing where I've been having people, if you wanted to write me emails at dearjcarver@gmail.com to be read on the show, I got a lot of emails, and it's been great, and I've been loving this segment. It's awesome. Interaction, it's a great thing. However, because I had got so many, I hadn't had time to really go through them. So amongst all of the emails that I hadn't quite read yet was this little gem that a viewer created for me that I will be putting on Facebook and lots of other different cool things. I'm going to wait till the hand is over so I can full screen the main camera for you. It is awesome. Definitely the coolest thing I've ever been sent via email. All right, a top 5 thing I've been sent via email. So check this out. All right, let's switch these around for a sec. Look. How amazing is this? J. Carver's Guide to Running It Up. Step 1, get dealt 2 cards. We're gonna have to come back to this because we have 2 queens, of course. It's been spoiled by having a big hand here, but we'll come back to that in a sec. I think we can make it pretty big here. I could even actually arguably just shove because that might even look weaker. I think 27 seems fine. We get it in often enough. I mean, like, anything we re-raise here looks like we're not folding anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference, I think making it 21 is effectively the same thing as making it 27, but I suppose we could maybe have made it a little bit smaller. But all right, whatever. Let's go back to the more important thing, though. Oh man, all right. I guess we have to play a hand. One more hand, I guess, at least. Gonna have to complete here with 3-9 suited. Our opponent decides to check. Certainly giving us the green light here on this flop. We have a 3 flush, 3 straight, overcard to second pair. Lots of things going on here. Ace is kind of a bummer card because it doesn't really make a lot of sense that our opponent will, like, what do we have that called, So if he has any pair, he might just stick around. Like, I can't say for sure that he will fold on the turn. At this point, we could try to argue like make a small bet, like bet like $3 or $4, and try to see if he'll fold like a better no pair hand than us, like something like this. Risking 3 to win 7. I don't think he ever folds like a 7 or better, but maybe he folds a 6. And if he ever has like queen high or jack high, maybe he talks himself into folding. But we're risking 3 to win 7. Does it work often enough? It's got to be at least close. Anyway, like I said, back to the more important thing. So yeah, I'm gonna post this on Facebook. Step 1: get dealt 2 cards. Any 2 will do. I guess it doesn't. I guess it won't. This camera is not gonna cooperate because it's meant for my distance. Flop. Step 2: flop poorly and bet aggressively. Step 3: pull out your Toshiba branded drill, which says Toshiba on it. Amazingly. Step 4: drill it. And it says in the bottom right, brought to you by the Dime Quarterland Sheriff's Department. How amazing is that? I thought that was pretty phenomenal. So I'm going to give this the permanent, like it's like the run-it-up child that gets their work on the fridge. This is going on the fridge, all right? If ever a thing is deservedly went on the fridge, I think it's this one. Let's see here. We'll do it live so you guys can all see it happening. That's right. Look at that. How nice is that? So make sure you check that out. I'll make sure I'll have a link in the description so you guys can check out that picture there. I'll put it up. It's pretty sick though. Fan art is an amazing thing. All right, let's switch back over to some poker now. All right, so here we go. We are stuck $1 sweet so far. Oh, that's a bank. That is the bank. Getting it in with the old 2 outs once. No big deal or nothing. Just rips the perfect river card. No big deal. We'll be folding here with the queen 5 suited. So yeah, I've got this pile of questions here that I've been I'm ready to answer. So let's do some viewer questions, assuming our big blind is not something playable. Oh, Jack 10 offsuit. I mean, you know, you'll always be a dog for viewer questions because I'm very optimistic when it comes to you know, hands being played. So under the gun limps again for like the 3rd time, I think. We flop air here. It's unlikely that we're going to do too much. If a turn card was something that gave us some sort of a draw, I'd probably bet, but, you know, I'm fine. I'm fine with just check folding in this spot. All right, so let's pull a viewer question, huh? Let's pull a viewer question. We're going to do, of course, the writer and author of the beautiful Run It Up guide picture. His question made it to the top of the list. If you send me something that amazing, you'll get to the top of the list, too. Dear J. Carver, and he wrote Dear J. Carver. Oh my god, this is fantastic. Dear J. Carver, I really like the videos. Your hand commentary has helped me think better in the hands I play. My question is, how do you deal with tilt after a really bad call loss or just generally bad play? I find I don't trust myself for a couple days. Any tips? Thanks, Will. Well, thank you, Will, for your great picture. That's awesome. So your question's about tilt, huh? Well, I guess we'll play this hand out first. Even though we're short stacked, I'm still fine with calling this here. Like, this hand is, like, very, you know, obviously we're not loving this. We have a 3 deuce suited, but we're getting 3 to 1. And, you know, we're short enough that I think if we flop any sort of, oh, look at that. That's a bink ball. If we flopped any sort of, like, draw or anything, we would just be able to play aggressively and, you know, whatever. It's fine. It can't be that bad. So the question is in this spot, do we want to check raise all in or do we want to check call? I think we're going to actually check call because spades obviously kind of suck because he might now be a little bit defensive against spades, which would be sad for us. But we want him to have some chance of improving and doing something like that. So I think we have to start with a bet. But like, what do we have? Like, what is, you know? I think we'll bet 28. If he has a pocket pair, he probably won't fold. If he shoves, we just have to fold, I think, which would be really unfortunate. But he is in the big blind, right? He was in the big blind and he re-raised, so he doesn't have too many nines here. I think that there's a chance he might have like ace high and look us up, or I mean pocket pairs. I think will probably stick around. Looks like we're gonna ship this little winner. So we could have made more. I mean, obviously that's a pretty bad turn and river run out for us. If the turn was like the jack of hearts, he might barrel, or just he might just improve. If like it's the king of hearts, maybe he has a king or something like that. So pretty poor run out to be spade and then have the 9 pair. But we still made some money there, so can't be too upset. We've made it to pair status, which is always great. Going to start here with a bet. Definitely this is going to be one of those boards where we're going to load the guns if our opponent had called. Against the check raise, I mean, this guy has been so passive that a check raise here could be light, like he's just now tilted and now he's check raising us, but our hand is kind of bad, we have no reason to suspect that he's super light here, price is not great. If we had a 10 maybe, but it's the same thing I guess as a 7, so I guess we just end up check folding until we know more about our opponent. Don't worry, I haven't forgot about your question. That's the benefit of it being printed. All right, so the question we had was about how do we deal with tilt. I think the best thing you can do about tilt is have a solid mindset, right? Every single thing that you do, the day, the week, the month that you're playing poker, all kind of contributes towards your mindset, right? So if you and I both come to play heads up, and we're gonna play for $1,000, which isn't super significant to either one of us, let's say theoretically, but it's a very tight fold for me, but I feel like this guy is kind of sticky, a little tight, whatever. But yeah, let's say we're both going to play a heads-up match, and I go out and I eat a super healthy meal. I eat plenty of food, so I'm well rested. I've slept and whatever else. I've come prepared. My life is in order. But you don't eat in advance, are having a stressful day, and you go and sit down, and we're both going to still play at the same match. Who is more likely to be tilted, even if we're the same usual temperament, assuming we're both human beings, so we're vulnerable to tilt? Who is going to be more prepared to deal with the swings of poker, me or you? Certainly the person that comes prepared and is well slept and has eaten. One of the things that I didn't realize about myself until, I don't even know, it took like living with other people, I guess, for me to really realize it, which has only happened in the last like 5 years. But for me, if I don't eat like a solid meal at some point, I am like awfully tilty. Like I am so much more sensitive to things that would never bother me if I just eaten. Like, so when I learned that, and once I started living with people who, when my mood actually would impact other people, then I kind of started realizing like, oh, okay, like, I need to make sure I eat at the first meal of the day. I need to make sure I wake up and eat. That was it. So getting into that rhythm kind of really helped me become more mentally stable and tilted less often and less easily. And there might be different things that apply for you. Like, certain things might tilt you. Maybe you quit too late. Like maybe it really tilts you. Like imagine this theoretically, right? Let's say you're playing a game of six. You're playing a 6-handed poker game, and it's a great game. You're crushing it. You're winning. It's great. It's awesome. And the game hasn't changed. It's still awesome, and you're still there. But you're up like $200. Okay. Let's say you lose a flip, or you lose aces versus 5, something like that. Or let's say you lose a flip, whatever, not even like a bad beat, just a flip. And now you're stuck. You're stuck like $20. And now you start steaming, you start tilting like, oh, that's a dirty little river. I mean, I guess he had an open ender and a flush draw, but still unfortunate for our friend with the trips over there. But yeah, we're talking about, so you lose a flip and you start getting tilted and you start steaming a little bit and you start playing a little bit more loose and you feel yourself like, oh my god, I was up so much and now I'm even. Or you lose 2 flips, which is even more realistic. So you lose 2 flips, you're up 2 buy-ins, you lose 2 flips, and now you're back to even. You could very easily become the fish in the situation because you're tilted at losing. Even though the game is still good, for you, if you really can't control that, we're going to have to play this hand, so we'll stop talking for a second. But well, hopefully I'll remember where we were at with this story. But basically the point is, like, you should always be aware of your emotional state. Try to stay focused on making good decisions. Don't be so results oriented. Don't play stakes that will stress you out. So don't play stakes where your emotional state will depend on the outcome, because that's never a good place to play poker. The best position to play poker from is one of strength, where it's like, I don't care if I win or lose. I just want to play and make the best decisions. That's the ultimate best position to be from, and why people like Tom Dwan and Ivy are so good, right? Because they don't care. They or at least they have the image of not caring. So yeah, I think that's something you always want to strive for, and that's helped by playing stakes that you can afford. We might win this hand, we might not. Yeah, I mean, we definitely lose to better ace highs, of course. That's something that's very viable. We just limp called pre and then check called flop and check called turn. So we definitely lose to better ace highs sometimes. But I'm fine with how he played that. He can have often enough things that we beat. He could have worse ace highs. He can have king highs, stuff like that. I guess we can call here. It's a little on the loose side, but we're in position. This guy has been relatively straightforward pre-flop and hasn't re-raised too much. I guess he did re-raise that hand when we had the 3-deuce suited, but that was a limped hand. So happy to call this given the price we're getting. Weird that he did not decide to join us, but all right. All right, so we flopped a overcard, backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw, all of these things. So we could shove, right, if we think he's capable of bet folding. I think I'm actually going to try calling. If he doesn't have a pair, there's a chance he'll just end up check folding, and we can turn so many good sweet cards for us that might convince him to just give up. Like if he has ace jack here, I think there's a good chance that he'll just end up check folding, right? And if not, okay, it didn't work out for us, whatever. So let's bet like 52. Clearly we're not going to fold if he shoves, but I think that works often enough. If he had shoved, we would just be pot committed, right? We would just have to, because we have to call 20 to win 160, and a queen is probably good, and the 7 is probably good as well. So got the job done there. In the streets, cash game streets over here. So yeah, I actually think that when you're considering, like, when you want to think about tilt, and I talked about Tommy Angelo, who was one of the biggest factors in me constructing a mindset that works well for poker and life generally. I think, always just trying to evaluate in terms of comparative tilt, I think is another good theory to talk about. So when you're talking, like we talked about it before a little bit, so given me losing aces versus your 7-deuce all in preflop, comparative tilt talks about how tilted you'll be versus I'll be. So if I'm, let's say my A game is a 10 out of 10 and your A game is a 10 out of 10. And when I lose aces versus 7-deuce, my A game goes down to a 9.5, but yours goes down to a 6.5. That's a pretty significant difference in terms of what our earn rate will be after we lose. We're both going to lose there the same percentage of the time. It's just a matter of how we interpret and process it. And that's purely a mental thing, purely how you approach it, purely your perspective, assuming that you're playing stakes that you can afford to play, which is a big, thing, obviously. Everyone's going to sweat it if they have 100K to their name and they're playing, 200, 400. We've all been there. Maybe just me. But, yeah. So, I'm sure a couple of you also have played 200, 400 out there. I'm sure I'm not the only one. But, yeah, that definitely helps the not sweating it thing when you're playing for stakes you can actually afford. All right, so I like questions like tilt. So questions about stuff like tilt. I feel like that's a topic that I can speak relatively intelligently on. Relatively. So if you have more questions about tilt and stuff of that nature, I'd be happy to answer them. All you have to do is fire away, dearjcarver@gmail.com. I like this email address because I can just promise I will answer questions to this place, and it's great. It's one single thing. I feel bad, like there was somebody that wrote me a very nice email or a very nice message on Reddit, and I didn't see it for 3 months because I don't look at Reddit PMs, All right, I'm going to bet here twice. I think there's a chance he'll fold king highs, jack highs, which just have a lot of equity against us. Pocket pairs, he might have a hand like 2 8s, 2 9s, 2 6s, and that hand might fold. 6s obviously we beat, but he might have a slightly better pocket pair than us. He might have a hand like king jack or king 10 or jack 10, all of which have tons of equity against us that might fold if we bet. And if he decided to check call turn, I would at least consider barreling on river, but I wasn't planning on it that time. Let's pull another question. I'm gonna pull it at random out of this stack here. I don't pre-sort. I'm literally just going to pull one. Let's see this question. Oh, this is one of the long questions that I can't read out loud because it's a long one. But let's see. Let's see what the core question is here. Oh, this is one about playing online underage. I'll just write you an email back. I don't want to give my thoughts on playing underage. I think I've done that enough in my I've done that enough in my storytime videos talking about me playing underage. I think I should probably just stay away from that topic, generally speaking. I think that poker in the future will morph into more of an esport, right? Into more of like a mind game, like a mind skill game like chess and bridge. Actually, I don't know if they can play young bridge. Like, I don't know if there's a age limit on bridge, but chess certainly not, right? So I feel like it'll morph into a game more like bridge in that, the reason that 16-year-olds or 15-year-olds or 10-year-olds shouldn't be playing poker is because they're playing for money, because money is how we keep score. So I feel like there's got to be some way where we can create some sort of like a poker league where you don't necessarily have to buy in for money, but you can maybe win prizes or something like that. But I feel like it's kind of a shame that people that are under 18 or 21 don't play poker more often, or at least it's like kind of frowned upon. I just think it's I think that's a little silly. I promise you this: my kids will be gambling machines by the time that they're old enough to. By the time they're old enough to handle money, we'll be gambling on that money. I promise you that much. That is a sure thing. Also, a sure thing is that we're going to be betting here twice. We might not have the best hand, but we more likely do than do not. Before this check min raise thing, at least, that was the case. I'm a little concerned here, obviously, but the board is so connected on flop. Like, what do you really have? He so often has some sort of like a combo draw here of some variety. I feel like we've seen that a good amount of the time that the guy here has like Jack 8 of spades or something like that decided to check min raise, even though his correct play is probably to check shove. So now that he's checked, I don't think there's any value, right? Because whatever he check min raise with on the turn, like let's say he has king 10, that's not going to call now, right? So if he's not calling with like that hand now, I'm happy just to check back, and we probably win. But I don't necessarily think he's going to call there too much. Now, I would have never thought he could have a hand like queen 10 there and check min raise turn, because you think that hand would either probably just check call, or maybe if he's going to check min raise at all, he would check min raise on the flop, you would think perhaps, right? So, but yeah, that did not happen this time. Right back in there with the old ace and ace. Not the best of flops, but we will start here with a wager, $5. If our opponent check raises, we're just going to call. That is the plan here going forward. If he check raises, we could definitely not have the best hand. He could definitely have, some sort of a 2-pair, set, straight, something like that. Obviously, you have plenty of straight draws, flush draws, single pair hands, stuff like that, so we can't fold. Given that he check raised a little bit smaller, like he made it 1350, he didn't make it 21, he made it 1350. I kind of suspect that he's not that strong and that he's not drawing. Like when he does that, like I would be kind of surprised if he had Jack 4 suited and made it check raise to 13. But, ultimately it doesn't make a difference. His hand's going to play itself. We're going to call flop, call turn, make a decision on the river. Let's see what that river is. Queen is pretty good for us, like we lose to flushes and Jack 10 right now, right? And 6-7, obviously, anything that was like setted on flop. But we do beat 2 pairs now, which is always nice. And now our opponent decides to check. So he could check a hand like Jack 10, right? He could. He could check a hand like Jack 10 and just be afraid of us having a flush. But he also checks hands like 9s, and, I think that often enough we get paid here by worse that we should be betting. Sometimes he has 10s or jacks, and I think if he has a hand like ace-9, 10-9, I think he'll at least consider calling. I'm not loving this bet. This bet doesn't always work, and sometimes he actually check shoves because he could just have a full house. But I think often enough we have the best hand that I want to be betting here, Looks like we got the job. I mean, I'm sure we had the best hand if he check folded, so I think we could have arguably... I suppose we could have arguably... No, I think we're fine. I think you could talk about maybe checking back river, but anyway. Dear Jay Carver, I wanted to ask your thoughts on Chinese poker. Number 1, do you play Chinese poker? Why, yes, I sometimes do. Number 2, what do you think of it? Thank you for the videos, Sam M. Well, you're welcome, Sam M. I've played Chinese, obviously. I played regular Chinese for a long time when that was the thing to do. You know, and then when OpenFace came out, I was a pretty big fan of OpenFace, played OpenFace for a while. The biggest I've ever played OpenFace myself is like 500 or 1,000 a point, something like that. And I crushed it. It was an amazing game. Trust me. It was really good. It was a really good game. So I've played a good amount of OpenFace in my life. Haven't played too much on like the app that they had because I'm not so sure. I've heard some pretty shady things about people being able to cheat and whatever else, and so I've stayed away from the app. But yeah, I've played a good amount of OpenFace and regular Chinese. I think it's a fun game. It's certainly become a fun gambling game. It's become like the standard gambling game for most high stakes players. Maybe less so like these current days, but for the last like year and a half, it has been. We're gonna defend here with the 10 and 8. All right. Well, we haven't flopped too much, but that's not going to stop us. We're probably going to be check and raising here because, you know, that's what we do. So let's fire it out there. I think 20 will get the job done. We do have some backdoor draws if he does fight back here, but, you know, sorry. Hitting the table here, no big deal. All right. Attack successful there. All right, let's pull another question. I think I got through that whole OpenFace question, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a fun game. I support you playing it if you haven't played before. It's a weird game where in regular Chinese, if you're not familiar, you get 13 cards face down and you just set your hand into 3 other poker hands, a top, a middle, and a bottom, where the bottom is the strongest, the middle is the middle, and then the top is the weakest. And it's a 3-card hand, 5-card hand, 5-card hand. It's a fun game. You know, I've played a bunch of Chinese, OpenFace, and Taiwanese, actually, is a game that you probably aren't as familiar with. But I don't know if we developed the game or if we just kind of ran with it, but we had kind of developed the bonus. I had developed a bonus system for when we played it a couple summers ago. May have even been like 3 years ago now at this point, but we played super high stakes Taiwanese for the entire course of the World Series one summer, and just like insane, like 3K a point Taiwanese. It was crazy, just very silly. I think we have to call here. I'm not loving it by any means, but 16 to win 36 with position against a short stack. We're basically playing to make a pair go all in game. It looks like we didn't win this round of it, but there's some chance that he'll just check and give up, but not this time. All right, that didn't work out for us there. Let's pull another question from the pile here. Let's pull one. Let's pull one from the middle, huh? Let's pull this one. Who's the lucky winner today? All right. Dear J. Carver, already you get points, sir. I guess we just fold Jack 3 suited, right? All right. I guess we just fold Jack 3 suited. Dear J. Carver, I was wondering what is the best strategy for an ante-only tournament with this structure. Only top 2 get paid. Well, that's already going to be suddenly difficult. Already, without even looking at the rest of this, if you're saying you're playing an ante-only tournament with only 2 spots paying, the strategy is to go fucking wild. I promise you that is the correct strategy, because if only 2 spots are paying, your goal is to win all the chips, and with antes in the middle, like, you should really be attacking quite a bit. You know, like, it depends how big the antes are. You want to limp a lot, you know, if that's how they're doing it. So the bring-in never, you're right, so the bring-in is always 100, this says. So yeah, you want to always be calling. I actually really like the ante-only format. I think it's very interesting and creates kind of cool dynamics that can be exploited. So let's read the rest of this. Buy-ins will be $20. Rebuy will be unlimited at $10 each. So yeah, and you can rebuy on top of that. So yeah, you definitely want to be in there gambling. Registration will also end at this time. Each player will get 10,000 total at the beginning and for each rebuy. No add-ons. Left of the dealer will act first. Players have the option to bring in at a minimum of 100 or fold. Okay, so it sounds like an ante-only tournament to me. 15-minute ante increases, 100, 200, 300, 500, 600, 800, 1,000, 1,500. Okay, so it's like a normal structured tournament from there. Gonna start here with a bet with this hand that we've been playing here. So yeah, my recommendations would be to get in there quite a lot. You definitely don't want to fold. You almost never want to fold to the bring in, right? Because let's say everyone antes 500, right? And there's 9 players at the table, so there's 4,500 in the pot with antes, and it's 100 to call. So you're getting 45 to 1. You should never be folding, right? Never. That's the secret to ante-only tournaments right there. And if two spots paying, you just want to attack. Just attack. Do not stop. Any kind of close position, you definitely want to keep your foot on the gas. That'd be my recommendations there. All right. So in this hand here, I think we just checked on the big blind, right? And now we're just going to fold. So don't forget, we're in for this table for only 100, not 200. So we're up $143. So that is sweet. We've ran it up, so to speak. Pocket threes here. We'll be defending against the raise. I think we can... I don't mind raising this, obviously, blind versus blind, but I think calling is fine as well. The last time we limped and the guy raised, he had ace-jack. I don't think we've seen any other hands blind versus blind from him at showdown. Going to start here with a bet. Probably have the best hand. I would be shocked if he had an ace here. He could have a 9 or 4, some sort of like diamond or something like that. Given that he's called, I'm slightly worried, but, only slightly. We're certainly going to barrel here with now a flush draw as well. There's some chance we can get him to fold a 4, or if he has a hand like, I don't know. Any two cards is likely to overcards to us, so having that hand fold would not be bad. So, it feels to me like this guy's probably got himself a 4. If he has a 9, I don't think he folds, but I feel like he's probably got a 4 or some sort of like... We could arguably check call if we thought that he could bluff with whiffed diamond draw that was like a float on the flop, that kind of thing. But I felt like there was some chance he could fold a 4, and I just didn't really feel like he was very strong, so that's what I kind of wanted to try to accomplish. We'll raise it up here on the button with our queen and 10 suited. Why not? Let's get in there, huh? All right. Looks like we're in the make a pair business again. Let's see a flop. All right, no pair for us here. You would guess that likely a queen and a 10 would both likely be fine in terms of making us the best hand. I think I am going to actually call here, just like the other hand we did before. We're getting 18 to win 46. We sometimes will just lose because he'll just like pot all in on the turn, but I think we can call here often enough. Certainly never folding now with the queen having hit. We got there effectively. So, all right. Well, it looks like we were going to win this hand unless he didn't improve to like an ace or something on the turn. You're going to bet very small here because, he's almost always check folding because he's just got $52, and we almost for sure have the best hand here. Oh, maybe not. We could lose, but can't fold now. All right. You got it, kid. I guess that's slightly unlucky because if we had just all not made pairs, if a turn card was just like a 9, we would have won, right? Because he probably would have just ended up check folding. So our plan of turn of just like float flop win on turn would have probably worked out if not for the fact that we both made pairs. And I think that's fine though. Like that's one of the risks of calling on the flop. Because you don't think he has nothing, but I think he has no pair often enough. And he also seems like the type that is going to just, if he has, given that we've seen him play other hands like that before, I felt pretty strongly that if he had no pair, he would just check fold. But once he re-raises, we can't fold to the check shove, I don't think. Too often he just has something else, I guess. He did check shove pretty fast though, so maybe we could have actually considered it. But I don't think that's actually realistic. Pretty good flop here for us. We flopped ourselves a gut shot, and potentially we could win also with diamonds and other types of things. The last time this guy did these small re-raises and small bets, he didn't have enough to call on the river when we had the aces. But once again, I'm happy just calling here. Let's see what happens on the turn. Fairly bad turn card for us. If he has a hand like ace-jack or ace-10, he's not going to check fold. He'll check call. If he has a hand like 7s, 6s, king-10, that kind of thing, maybe that hand will check fold. But I really don't think this bet has a super high ROI, but I just don't know our opponent, and I want to take a stab once at least. If the river card comes a diamond, we might bluff. But I'm probably gonna just, if the river is like a deuce of spades, I'm just probably gonna give up right here. So, or right there, I should say. But I think this works often enough that this is probably okay. And if not, then I guess it can't be that bad. Risking 24 to win 40. So, I mean, I don't think that there's. I mean, I really don't super believe this, but I also don't really, I don't know well enough to think that we can just shove. I mean, like, it could be a light check raise on turn. Like, it's so bluffy looking. God. He did have the best end, but he made a good play, obviously. I was pretty, in the cage. That's right. That's right. Right in the cage. Right in the cage. I mean, I was definitely considering just shoving because God, it felt like it was nothing, but I couldn't pull the trigger. Weird that he decided to re-raise us and then decide to check call on the queen 8-8 flop, or no, he bet, we called, so no, that's fine. And then yeah, I guess we went from there. So because now we're a little bit shorter, I think we just fold here. Also, we just got shown a bluff by that guy, so it might have kind of encourage the other opponents to kind of attack us. So I think we just say, all right, we got given the business over there by Jay Decipherer. He correctly figured out the puzzle over there and got us to. God, if only I had just shoved. I should have just done it. I should have just said, no, this guy doesn't have it. It doesn't look, doesn't look like anything. Like, what does he have? He has to have like aces or queens or pocket eights, obviously. It would all make sense. But, yeah. Damn it. Yeah, we got given the business on that one. Let's do another question while we're in the cage over here. While we're in a cage, let's do another question. All right. I happen to have pulled one that says urgent advice. Lucky for you, you get answered within only 3 days of writing me because time frame is a little bit longer than that. All right. Dear Jay Carver, I crush my local 1-2 games. I play almost full time. I'm running at $51 an hour over the last 3,500 hours. That's pretty sweet. That's a lot of money. I contemplate playing more 2-5 even though it doesn't run every day. I've had subscriptions to this and that, and I subscribe to this and that and watch your videos. All right. My question, Jay Carver, do you think I would benefit from a coach? If there is no one in my local market offering coaching services, who would you recommend and what benefits do you think I might see? How much do you think I need to pay? What are your views regarding coaches for winning live, low stakes, no limit hold'em players? Well, I don't think you necessarily need to get a live coach or even necessarily a small stakes coach. I think coaching is great. If you're a serious poker player, coaching can usually only help with your either losing less or winning more, right? I think there are lots of great coaches out there for you. I've done a bunch of coaching in the past, but I don't coach anymore unless you make the main event final table. Then I'll make an exception. But or if you're a billionaire, those are the two exceptions. Even then, I wouldn't enjoy it. I might even turn down billionaire at this point. But yeah, it's great. Coaching is awesome. I've coached people for many years. I've got coached myself many times. It's a super helpful thing to have someone kind of watch over your game and kind of be like, what is this? And what are you doing there? And what are your reasons for this? And having a good coach that can teach you something you don't know or show you something that you've never quite thought of before can be very helpful. And usually you can get coaches at some really good rates. I have students that former students of mine that coach currently that charge like very reasonable, like 100 or 200 an hour. And yes, that's a lot of money. But if you imagine that you're playing like 1-2 and your hourly is, let's say your hourly is 40 an hour is crazy. Let's say you're playing 1-2 and your hourly is 20 an hour though, which is somewhat reasonable in a good game, right? So let's say your hourly is 20 an hour and you go pay $200 to a coach for a month, for a session a week. So you're paying $800. If you're making 20 an hour, but your hourly rate goes up to 40 an hour, you're going to make up that money so fast. And if it sticks with you, it sticks with you for life. You know what I mean? So I think that, coaching is definitely a good decision if you're inclined to go through it and have the money to put into it. I'm not sure if there's like particularly good coaches for like live poker. You know, all the coaching I've done has been online or on Skype, or I haven't done too much live coaching besides with Russ, which if you don't know about that, you can go check out on my YouTube channel, the 6-part documentary called The Final Table. Also, thefinaltable.tv. There's a whole showcase site for you there to check out. But yeah, besides, it's definitely a good idea. I know there's a coaching forum on 2+2. I'm sure there are coaching forums in other places. You probably shouldn't be paying more than like 100, 200, 250 an hour. You can get some really good coaches for 200 an hour. When I used to coach, I started when I started to coach, like at my most often coaching time, I think I got like 400 an hour, which I think is a pretty reasonable rate back in the day, and I think people were pretty competitive around there. So yeah, I think that's a reasonable thing these days. It would not be 400. Don't even ask what it would be. You'd be sick. You'd be sick, and I wouldn't want to take your money. There are so many better places you could spend money on these days than me coaching you. You can get so many like sickos that are like really good, you can get so many sickos that could really help you that are just living, breathing poker. Whereas my amount of poker you guys watch every day, like this is it for my poker. I'm retired. Don't you can go spend that same money on, any number of super sick coaches. That would be great for your game. So, well, they want us to bluff, but I don't think we're gonna. All right, maybe we will. $4 to win $670. All right, finally we got one of those little bluffs through. I feel like we've been crushed on all those little bluffs at least. So this will be our last orbit, I think. Quick little walk around for our ATM friend over there. So yeah, this will be our last orbit here. Kind of an interesting session. We had mostly just like some bluffs, right? The biggest pot we lost was the Queen 10 versus Ace Queen hand, which was just unfortunate. Like I think we went on every turn that isn't a Ace or Queen, right? And then maybe he sticks around on Jacks and 10s, but we have the best hand on a 10 and a Jack. We have a lot of equity, so. He might even just check fold on those, right? So it's possible at least. So I think we win. I think our play and our plan was sound. It just didn't work out that time. And then the Jack 9 hand I feel bad about because I was so tempted and I just didn't pull the trigger. And he got us there. So I think I'm going to start with a bet here. I'm not like loving it, but how bad could it be? $9. We're really just trying to get this guy to go away because once he folds, then we can just barrel the rest of this through a lot. Looks like we're going to have to at least fire once more, if not twice more. We actually get value here from worse. We might have the best hand. He might just have a straight draw or something like that. But in case he happens to have a hand like 2 6s or 8 7, something like that, I really want to kind of encourage him to fold here. And if he check calls, sometimes he has hands like 6 5, which is a double gut shot, or he has 10 8, and we get value from those hands, which is fine. And once in a while, we can get the job done by just blasting off through the river, if need be. I think we're gonna raise this. Why not? Don't see a good reason not to. All right, off to the flop we go. All right, so let's start here with a bet because that's what we do. I expect our opponent going to call here more often than not. Ace is kind of interesting. I think I'm going to actually check. It's hard to imagine that this guy is going to call twice with a worse hand than ours, right? But there's a chance that he'll have like a bluff and then bet, or he'll have like pocket 6s and turn it into a bluff, something like that. Definitely not going to fold, though. No heart on the river, so we lose to like ace X of hearts, but that might just raise flop, and we lose to ace high floats. He's bet half pot here very confidently twice, but realistically speaking, we only lose to ace X, and how realistic is that really? We are getting like 3-1. I think we chop here a good percentage of the time. I don't think we like win here that often. I think he does have ace high a good amount of the time, but I mean, we're getting a pretty good price, so I will pay this off. We do lose to ace king. I could have maybe folded that river. I mean, like, it just really didn't seem weak to me, but yeah. All right, we've been playing this video for 44 minutes, so I think we're gonna have to wrap this up. This has not exactly been the hugest of shot takes. Most successful shot take ever. It is not. But oh yeah, 472 goes on the big board. We won 2.5 big blinds. That's great. So we end today with 1277.83. All right. But if you let me know what you guys think about this 1-2 video, I'll probably be back doing these 50 big blind videos again. It kind of limits us a little bit to play shorter, but it also gives us interesting situations that we don't always get to see, and I like trying different stuff. So let me know what you guys thought about this video, and I'll be back with more very soon, probably tomorrow. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment, follow me on Twitter @JasonSomerville, and I will see you guys back for more very soon. Thanks so much for watching. Peace!